Forests. Beneath a canopy older than human memory, sunlight fractures into 1,000 shifting fragments. Here, in the quiet architecture of trunk and branch, one of the planet's most complex living systems breathes, grows, and endures. They cover roughly 31% of the Earth's land surface, an expanse of over 4 billion hectares. Within this green mantle lies more biological diversity than in any other terrestrial biome. To understand a forest is to understand something fundamental about the mechanics of life on Earth. Part 1. The architecture of a forest. A forest is not simply a collection of trees. It is a layered, three-dimensional structure, each level shaped by light, competition, and time. At the top lies the emergent layer, the tallest trees, rising above the general canopy, exposed to full sun and the force of open wind. Below this, the canopy itself forms a nearly continuous ceiling of leaves, absorbing the majority of incoming sunlight and hosting an estimated 50% or more of all terrestrial species, many of which scientists have yet to formally identify. Beneath the canopy lies the understory, a dimmer world of shrubs, saplings, and shade-tolerant plants, adapted to survive on a fraction of the light above. And at the base, the forest floor, a layer of decomposing leaf litter, fungi, and soil organisms that quietly perform one of the forest's most essential functions, the recycling of nutrients back into the living system. Each layer depends on the others. Remove one, and the balance of light, moisture, and nutrient flow begins to unravel. Part 2. The Great Forest Biomes. Not all forests are alike. Across the planet, 3 major forest biomes have evolved in response to climate and latitude. The tropical rainforests, found across the Amazon basin, the Congo basin, and Southeast Asia, are the most biodiverse terrestrial ecosystems on Earth. Warm temperatures and consistent rainfall, often exceeding 2,000 millimeters annually, support an almost incomprehensible density of species. A single hectare of Amazonian rainforest may contain over 200 distinct tree species, more than exist in all of North America. Farther from the equator lie the temperate forests, found across eastern North America, Europe, and parts of East Asia. These forests experience for distinct seasons, and many are deciduous, shedding their leaves each autumn in response to declining light and dropping temperatures, a strategy that conserves water and energy through the cold months. And in the far north, encircling the globe below the Arctic Circle, stretches the boreal forest, or taiga, the largest forest biome on the planet, dominated by cold-hardy conifers such as spruce, pine, and fir. The boreal forest alone stores an estimated 30 to 40% of all terrestrial carbon, held within its trees, roots, and the deep, slow-decomposing soils beneath them. Part 2. The Great Forest Biomes. Not all forests are alike. Across the planet, 3 major forest biomes have evolved in response to climate and latitude. The tropical rainforests, found across the Amazon basin, the Congo basin, and Southeast Asia, are the most biodiverse terrestrial ecosystems on Earth. Warm temperatures and consistent rainfall, often exceeding 2,000 millimeters annually, support an almost incomprehensible density of species. A single hectare of Amazonian rainforest may contain over 200 distinct tree species, more than exist in all of North America. Farther from the equator lie the temperate forests, found across eastern North America, Europe, and parts of East Asia. These forests experience for distinct seasons, and many are deciduous, shedding their leaves each autumn in response to declining light and dropping temperatures, a strategy that conserves water and energy through the cold months. And in the far north, encircling the globe below the Arctic Circle, stretches the boreal forest, or taiga, the largest forest biome on the planet, dominated by cold-hardy conifers such as spruce, pine, and fir. The boreal forest alone stores an estimated 30 to 40% of all terrestrial carbon, held within its trees, roots, and the deep, slow-decomposing soils beneath them. Part 3. The Hidden Network. Beneath the visible forest lies a second, invisible one. Threading through the soil, fine filaments of fungi, mycorrhizae, form symbiotic connections with the roots of nearly 90% of all plant species. In exchange for sugars produced through photosynthesis, these fungal networks supply trees with water and essential minerals, particularly phosphorus and nitrogen, drawn from soil the tree's own roots cannot reach. Research over the past 3 decades has revealed something more remarkable still. These fungal networks can connect multiple trees, sometimes of different species, into a shared underground web. Through this network, trees have been observed exchanging carbon, warning signals of insect attack, and, in the case of larger, older trees sometimes referred to as hub trees, supporting the growth of smaller or shaded seedlings nearby. This is not sentiment, it is measurable biochemistry. But it reveals a forest not as a collection of individuals competing for light, but as an interconnected system, cooperating and competing simultaneously, in ways science is only beginning to fully map. Part 4. With a planetary engine. Forests do far more than support the species living within them. They regulate the chemistry of the entire planet. Through photosynthesis, forests absorb roughly 2 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide each year, making them one of the most significant natural carbon sinks on Earth. Trees release oxygen as a byproduct of this process, while storing carbon within their wood, leaves, and root systems, carbon that, in old-growth forests, may remain locked away for centuries. Forests also drive the water cycle. Through a process called transpiration, a single large tree can release hundreds of liters of water vapor into the atmosphere each day. Multiplied across billions of trees, this process generates rainfall patterns that extend far beyond the forest's own borders. Some studies suggest that moisture generated by the Amazon rainforest influences precipitation as far away as the agricultural regions of Argentina and the southern United States. Root systems stabilize soil, reducing erosion and regulating the flow of water into rivers and groundwater systems. In this sense, forests act simultaneously as carbon reservoirs, rain generators, and water filtration systems, a single ecosystem performing multiple planetary functions at once. Part 5. A system under pressure. Despite their resilience, forests face mounting pressure from human activity. Since 1990, the world has lost an estimated 420 million hectares of forest through deforestation, an area larger than the European Union. The primary drivers are agricultural expansion, logging, and infrastructure development, with tropical forests bearing the heaviest losses. The consequences extend beyond the visible loss of trees. Deforestation disrupts local and regional rainfall patterns, releases stored carbon back into the atmosphere, and fragments habitats faster than many species can adapt or migrate. Some ecologists warn that portions of the Amazon may be approaching a critical threshold, a tipping point beyond which sections of rainforest could transition into a drier, savanna-like ecosystem, a shift that would be difficult, if not impossible, to reverse on human timescales. Climate change compounds these pressures. Rising temperatures and shifting precipitation patterns are altering the range of tree species, increasing the frequency and severity of wildfires, and enabling the spread of pests and pathogens into regions where forests have no evolved defense. Part 6. Resilience and restoration. And yet, forests also demonstrate a remarkable capacity for recovery. Secondary forests, those regrowing on previously cleared land, can begin sequestering meaningful amounts of carbon within just a few decades. Reforestation and afforestation projects across the globe, from the Great Green Wall initiative spanning the African Sahel to large-scale replanting efforts in China's Lurs Plateau, have demonstrated that degraded land can, under the right conditions, be returned to productive forest. Indigenous and local communities, who steward roughly a quarter of the world's remaining tropical forests, have repeatedly shown some of the lowest rates of deforestation observed anywhere, a reflection of land management practices refined over generations. Conservation science increasingly emphasizes not just planting new trees, but protecting existing old-growth forest, which holds far greater carbon density, biodiversity, and ecological complexity than any young, replanted stand can replicate within a human lifetime. A forest is, in the end, a form of memory, centuries of accumulated growth, adaptation, and interdependence, written into wood, root, and soil. It is a carbon reservoir, a rainmaker, a shelter for species still unnamed by science, and a network of exchange more intricate than most human systems ever devised. To lose a forest is to lose not simply trees, but a functioning piece of the planet's own physiology. To protect one is to preserve a system that has, for millions of years, quietly made the rest of life on Earth possible.